So this video is a new step for me. I feel like I'm letting go of an old paradigm and an old set of beliefs and an old set of actions and ways of doing things. And I'm happy to let that go. And I find myself here now on the precipice of taking a leap into the unknown. And this leap into the unknown has been something I've been putting off for a long time, thinking that I needed to be absolutely polished. And whilst I've done no prep, I've also been prepping for a long time. And I'd still be here in another 10 years, not committing anything to video, to anything really. And yet I would advise other people to take aim at the ball first and then correct your aim coming in. There are times where you do have to look and figure out what it is that you need to do first. And that's fine, but it's now time for action. So welcome to my first video. I can't say it's not going to be awful, but I can't say that it's not going to be okay as well. Where to start? Who am I? My name's Richard. Some people may. I've no idea if I'm going to post this on my social media. That seems like a step too far. Just for the moment. Some of the reasons around this, me recording messages in the first place, is that it feels divinely felt. I keep getting prompted to. I've been on a bit of a journey for the last five and a bit years. I've always been a bit left field. I've never really, I would say, 100% fit in. This isn't a woe be me kind of thing. This is just, I'm just presenting it as it is. I've never felt like I fit in. Always just on the edge. Always had friends, make friends easy. But it's not that, it's just being on the edge of things. And 5 years ago, I started going through a bit of an awakening. And I hate the terminology. There's a lot of phrases that I use that I'll probably excuse, but by way of reference, it's the only way in which to articulate them. And because of the widely known, you'll then understand what I'm talking about. But needless to say, I'm not a woo-woo guy. I believe in a lot of woo stuff. And what's interesting about that now is, from a science point of view, trust the science. Science is now catching up to certain ideologies and beliefs that have been long held by the spiritual community and were considered woo. Right now the law of attraction and the Akashic records are buzzwords, and I'm not maligning any of those things at all. I've had an Akashic records reading, and both it and the guy that done it were phenomenal. What I mean is that spirituality is a lot more in our vocab. We have exposure to it through social media, for example, so you will understand some of the things I'm talking about. However, I guess what I'm trying to do is just be the glue, maybe the bridge between what you do know and what you might not. And you might think, well, this video isn't for me. And that's fine, but I bet I can reach you on a different level. Camera's over here. Forgive me, this is my first video. I'm just giving it a fucking go. So I'm going to try not to earn my way through it, but we are where we are. If there's anything you're listening to me, there's anything that I say that gives you an immediate reaction, whether it's this guy's full of shit, it's valid, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or there's something that comes up, he's a crazy person, like, I didn't realise it was like this, if this does go out to people that I know. That's a reaction, and that isn't, you haven't used your ability to respond, your responsibility, you have just reacted. And in that reaction, you'll find that it'll come from somewhere. If you were to really sit down and can be bothered digging into where it'll come from, it's usually again, I'm going to use another word, programming. Let's see if we can find a better word. Let's just call it your education. Everything that you've picked up from when you were born until now. There's I think it's Socrates, but again, it could be Plato, and it could be, I know that it's something it's a quote that's widely accepted within the psychology community. I know they were philosophers. One of them was a mathematician as well. But that by the by. And it's show me the boy or girl from 0 to 7, and I'll show you the man or woman. And when you look back at the thing that I might have triggered you into thinking, where you've had a reaction, what you'll realise is that it will come from probably a number of places, whether it's scholastic or parental or societal or your peers. It might have come from education in the workplace. It could have come through media, all these places. But if you really dig down, you'll probably find it comes somewhere from childhood. Now, I'm not a shrink, I'm not medically trained, and I don't pretend to be, but I have had a lifetime of observation, utilising bits of psychology, Jungian psychology. I've had sessions with people that have written books on the Jungian psychology, and I've had a lot of soul searching. I've dug deep. Fuck me, I've dug deep, and it's become like a full-time job. So since we're all here experiencing experience itself, what is my provenance? A lifetime of experience. So all I'm trying to do, and I have been growth-minded, I am diagnosed ADHD, wherever that gets you. I am undiagnosed autism. The only reason I mention these things is that I've got a broad scope of things that I've tried to not necessarily overcome, but mitigate. Some people take a diagnosis, and there's no judgment here at all about anyone or anything. We're all on a journey, and some people start on hard, like super hard. There's only one thing can judge us all, and that's ourselves. And some of that was me fearful of saying the big G. So I'm going there's only one thing that can judge us, and that's God. And I don't mean a guy with a grey beard sitting on a cloud. Although if that's your version of God, that's fine. I mean an infinite complex consciousness that binds us all together. But more on that later. So yeah, there might be things in here. So if I'm here to, as I see it, rather grandiosely, to bridge the gap between a number of things, I guess, heaven and earth, but the 3D and the 5D, if you've heard those terms, La Matrice, the matrix we all live in, or just reality as most of us understand it, and then whatever I've been through, understood, get messages from, have a calling for. The bridge between that is that understanding, which I think can help most people. You don't have to grow your hair long and put it into, put dreadlocks in, and you don't have to wear hippie scent and walk barefoot. But if there's anything that you can take from what anybody says that resonates, even if you don't understand why it resonates, like, we need to look into these things. So if there's anything that I can help with just by having these conversations, albeit with myself, I'm having them anyway on a daily basis, someone might get some use out of them, then that can only be a good thing. And if it brings more understanding, and if it brings more introspection that leads to people alleviating some of their stresses and worries. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a guru, I don't pretend to be. I've just had a set of experiences, and I have some knowledge about it, and I'm pretty open. And I come from things with no judgment. And when I'm dealing with other people, no expectation. I haven't quite figured that all out for myself yet, but it's something I keep reminding myself of. And that's because this realm makes us forget. How can you have such a good day and strive on? I think, I'll do that tomorrow, and then you forget because, one, we don't make things a priority, I guess, but two, life's so busy, and life's busy on purpose. I don't think, the powers that be, whoever's really put control on what's going on, because let's be honest, it's not the governments. And again, I'm not here to program anyone. I'm not here to persuade anybody. This is just things as I see them. And the reason I can do this, you think, well, why should I listen to this? You when there's experts do it saying this, and this, and so I stopped watching the news a long time ago. But even when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it really makes sense. And then I remember that it just doesn't feel right, and that is one of the big lessons. I don't want to go on too much because right now this is more a getting over a hurdle, a fear of being seen, and all the big umbrella that is of fear of rebuttal, fear of basically showing yourself up, fear of exposure, fear of getting things wrong, And I'm trying to step out of that and step more into myself. And I seen a quote the other day. I know I've gone down so many different rabbit holes, but I'll try and backtrack in a sec. Where the only thing in the void, because we're scared of the void, is just more of ourselves, and we should never be scared of it. And in the void for me that I'm looking at is like putting myself out there and being vulnerable as I am now, and stepping into this fear of being seen and all the things that sort of emanate from it for me. So yeah, I stopped watching the news because things didn't feel right. Oh, so fuck. What does that mean? It means that we all have good feelings to things. We all feel things on a physical, and let's use the word spiritual for now, but a spiritual level or an extra level. We've all got a heart, and you can feel it beating in your chest. We've all got a brain. Most people have got a brain in their heads. And it's a physical thing, and it's doing things. It's sending signals to each other, and it's doing things that we're not even conscious of. We're now beginning to understand what that is. But it's a biological thing, and it's doing things. But we've all experienced heartache. Did that come from your heart? It would come from that sort of centre piece, yeah, but it wasn't to do with your heart. It was an emotion. We have the capacity to feel these emotions. We have thoughts. The thoughts come from the brain, yes, but it's separate than that. And I know someone might jump on, well, go, it's this, and this, but you get what I'm talking about. Let's not get in the weeds. And I think discernment is a great leveler for everyone, because it doesn't matter how dynamic you are, how cerebral or granular or intellectual you are, or how maybe that you're not any of those things. We all get to feel. And if we feel into things, truthfully, and focus, we've all got intuition, we've all got access to these things, like I say, gut feelings and whatnot, and we trust them, more of these things come online. But in doing so, what then happens? And you might think, well, this is just anecdotal, Richard. It isn't, because I'm in touch with a lot of people. I watch a lot of people. Everybody reports. Those people on the path report the same things. The things that they report is that it doesn't feel right. So, yeah, it's entertainment at the end of the day. It's how have people not figured out whether it's left wing or right wing. It's the same bird. Do you know what I mean? And even that bird's a puppet, because the strings are being pulled. And there's so many examples, there's documents you can bring, but I'm not here for that. I'm not trying to program anyone. I've got my beliefs. I've got my inner knowings. And I'm happy with that. I guess all I'm doing is that I've been told that the people often open up to me. and have done since I was a kid. Like adults, I don't know why I've just told you that. I've heard that more times than, and it's great. It's been a beautiful thing. People just open the heart. There must be something about me, I guess, where there's a present. I'm not aware of it. I keep being told about it. I'm not aware of it. And I keep hearing all these things. And I'm like, I really should do something with that. And I feel called to do something with that. And it says, do this. I don't feel necessarily called to do this, but I know this is the next step for me. So, yeah. I've been on a journey. I've not always been this person. I've not always got it right. And fuck me, I'm not getting it right now. I make mistakes every day, and I'm wrong frequently. But I don't mind putting my hand up and saying when I'm wrong. And I've fucked up. I have fucked up in my life, and I've hurt people, and I've hurt myself. And like I say, I didn't get a diagnosis for my ADHD until late in life. And whilst that didn't excuse any sort of behaviours, it did give us a reason, because I just didn't. I've always been good-hearted, I've felt. I've never been like a malicious or nasty person, but yeah, I've been a fucking idiot. I've been an idiot. But I don't identify with that person anymore, and I've tried to right my wrongs, and I'm here cap in hand, just sort of saying, look, how can I help? How can I help? And I'm doing that by putting myself on the line. So I don't know what else I can do. I'm not the person I was. I've changed 6 times since fucking last week. Never mind, going back years and years and years and years. And we're all allowed to change. And I know people like to keep you in the same box because it makes them feel comfortable. But they'll just have to learn, won't they? Because if you are a force for good, whatever that looks like to you, but you're fearful for whatever reason. Look, I'm going to end with this because I don't want to. It was never meant to be a really long message, and I'm actually surprised I've got here. I don't know how articulate it is. My brand of ADHD and autism, I've got 2 different. What do you call it? Perceptions going on, and they contradict each other. And my rote working memory is piss poor. It is. It's piss poor. And so I'm saying these things as they're coming through, and I'm trying to keep on track. I might watch this back and go, "Fuck me, that was just it wasn't a stream of consciousness. It was a stream of bullshit." But I am where I am. I'm 18 minutes in now, so I'm not going to re-record it. I'm just going to suck it up. And yeah, so I'm going to leave you with this. We create out of 2 things. There's only ever 2 things that life comes down to. And that's, are we creating out of love, or are we creating out of fear? And so if you were to watch the news, for example, and you look at what's going on, like pick any aspect of it, and you think, oh God, the net's tightening, it's scary, scary, scary. Whether it's your pensions, whether it's about wars, whether it's about immigration, whether it's about religious and genocide, whether it's about your kids growing up and you being fearful of what's around the corner, the AI, what's going to be there for them, And then you start thinking, right, I'll buy, and this was my own example, I'll buy some land and I'll cut myself off but then it'll have to be pulled, like it'll have to have a perimeter, and it'll need to be sort of, whoa, easy. That was out of fear, and nothing good comes from that. Where if you do it out with love, by way of example, you say, well, look, I want to protect me and mine, but I also want to be community-minded. I want to give back. I want to make sure. I know there's a massive problem with immigration, and whilst I don't agree, I can see how the fabricated nature of it, and again, it's my belief, looking through the lens of it. And these are also backed up by a lot of things that I've seen, like actual documents. But again, I'm going to focus on making sure that I am healthy and fit, and that my family are healthy and fit, and that we can insulate and ourselves as much as we can and mitigate this external noise and fear. And it's like, well, that's for love, because you're doing it for other people, you're doing it for yourself, you're still being open and community minded. Maybe not the best example, but I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. So yeah, I think that'll do. That'll do, pig. And yeah, if there's anybody struggling with anything, and you want to reach out and just have a conversation, I'm usually good at seeing things in various different shades of grey. And again, to use those things, the 3D, the 4D, the 5D, I can kind of see beyond just the 2D, 3D thing. Oh, this is your problem. I can usually... Now, I don't have an experience other than, well, a lifetime of experience of helping people and helping myself. But just by way of trying to give back, I guess, and make use of whatever these things people keep telling me I am. If people want to reach out and have, like a 15-minute conversation, 20-minute conversation, half an hour conversation, even if it's just to get it off your chest, and I can fire some things over that might be useful. Feel free. There'll be no charge. I think this just gets me out doing the things I'm supposed to be doing, and in that, if I can provide some ease, if nothing else, not even solutions, if I can provide some ease, and if I get any messages through from the divine, if you're open to them, the divine, spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, there's different ones for different things, and I'm still getting my head around all that, I'll be honest, but I do get messages, I do pull cards, I do some, like I say, some woo stuff, but it's phenomenal actually that since I've put that, I said I was going to finish there, but this seems really pertinent to get out. I've gone through life, and as I said, I never really felt like I fit in, and I've never felt like I had a good job, and I had a really nice place in town, and I've tried my hand at different businesses with varying degrees of success. I've done all right. I've done the 3D thing. I've renovated properties that I've stopped in, and I've lived outside of Cumbria and had businesses doing that. I've tried different things. I've done a lot of different things, and none of it ever felt like it was for me. I've done a lot of different things. I've met a lot of different people. I've been to a lot of different places, and the majority of it just didn't feel. I've always felt like I didn't have an instruction manual until I started putting, again, the divine, until I started leaning into that sort of spiritual aspect, until I started trusting myself and my own intuition, back to discernment, until I started doing that, I just felt out of whack. The more I put something outside of myself at the centre of myself, I still make the decisions. You've got free will. That's what free will is. You ultimately have to make the decision because it's your thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions. Emotions can be involuntary, but we can manipulate them. And some people have feelings, thoughts will enact their emotions, where other people, like myself, have to embody feeling safe and feeling good before I can change my thoughts on something. Anyway, talk about losing your train of thought. Yes, the more I've put something else, the more I've trusted myself to the path and take the next right action, the better life's got. The more I've got things right, and when I've come off that because I've desired to have this feeling or go and do that and da-da-da. When it's not felt aligned, that's when you get a spanking. But it's all right. It's a bit of a detour. You can't come off your path. You're just going to be given things over and over again. Everything's cyclical, and it spirals up, and everything will just keep happening and happening and happening until you get the fucking picture and you do the thing that's asked it of you. Now I could post this video and I could post 100 more, telling you about experiences and talking about the Tao, and because that is phenomenal actually. But I could talk about all these different things and knowledge points that I have about psychology and about spirituality and the different branches of it and aspects of it, and just the little things I've learned along the way and my own experiences. And I've recorded a lot of it physically. But to be honest, for those who are interested or that are starting on a path, the simplest advice that I could give you is thus: just do the next right thing. Whatever that is, whatever you feel that to be, as long as it's coming from love, not out of fear, just do that and watch your life get infinitely better. Just do the next right thing. That's it. All right. Peace out.